Welcome into episode number 8 of the Hobby Hotline podcast, live this morning on YouTube, Facebook, and we're on Periscope. Our host this week, Doug Caskey at Fresh Cardboard from Mojo Breaks The Hype. What's up, Doug? How we doing?
Good, man. How's it going?
Outstanding. Surviving. And then we have both Stephen Loeffler at Junk Wax Twins and me, Big Shep, at Big Shep 79 from About the Cards, hanging out with you today. We are the Hobby's only live call-in show. We're live every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Time.
10 Central.
You can always follow us on Twitter to Hobby Hotline, and we're available as a podcast pretty much everywhere. We're going to drop the link, so we're looking for calls. We got some topics today, but if you have something that's burning in desire you want to talk about, hop in and chat it up with us. Just click the link, and you can join in by phone or computer. You don't even have to have video, just as long as you have some audio. Mm-hmm. It will be great. That's been dropped in there. Guys, what is up? We're living in a crazy time, crazy world. I feel like I've said this a million times, but I feel like we're living in a really bad movie, like a really bad blockbuster movie, like The Day After Tomorrow, but worse. And just don't know what's going on from day to day, and things keep changing. But we have this hobby, this glorious hobby of ours to get us going. So, Doug, what's it been like in the breaker world for you guys?
It's actually been pretty steady. We had to send home our shipping department because of the shelter in place here in Santa Clara County in California. So we actually can't get enough breaks out. So we had to do about 50% less breaks. So the demand's been there. People have been great in the chat. I think it's been everybody's escape. You know what I mean? So it's like, you can only watch, Joe Exotic so many times that you're going to come pop in our chat and, get into a break. And these releases have been fantastic. But from our standpoint, we try to keep that 3 to 5 business days of the cards going out, and it's just without shipping department, it's been a little tough to continue the amount of breaks that we did prior to the pandemic.
Yeah, no, I could totally understand that. I mean, we had 2 big ones drop this week. We had Gypsy Queen, which is a really base heavy product. So I bet normally you guys are probably doing a couple of case breaks of that. Was that cut back this time,
I did 2 on Wednesday. I actually got some right here, some Gypsy Queen. And we're kind of pushing them out. We probably would have done 4 or 5 on release day. We're actually only having 1 person in the shop at a time, so we can't even do the double cam anymore. So we did 2 cases on release day. We're going to do another one on Monday. But we definitely have cut back on what we normally would do on that release, especially with opening day would have been right around the corner, right? So there would have been definitely a demand for baseball.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So real quick, what did you think of this year's Gypsy Queen? Going through a couple cases.
I'm not a huge fan personally. I mean, I like the artwork. I like how clean looking the cards are. I just, I don't like the choice of autograph subjects, and I know that's a base set builder product, but I think, I almost think they could do maybe 1 auto and make it a little bit better instead of doing 2 autos. It seems like, at least in the 2 cases, I know it's a small sample size. There was a lot of repeats in the 2 cases. A lot of the big names, obviously, were really hard to hit, like the rookies. So I'm not a huge fan, but I understand, with the SPs, with the Jackie Robinson, with the, Players Weekend. I get where people like it. Personally, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, I think one the Gunbacks are the best parallel in maybe the hobby year to year, but it's kind of like a bastardization of Heritage and Allen and Ginter combined. Nice sets, but if you're not doing that, or if you're just doing a team set, it's kind of filler.
Yeah, I haven't really felt like it's found its place. You know what I mean? Like they've been keep trying to retool it. Like this year they have the lineup cards, which is cool. It seems like they keep trying to throw stuff at it. I mean, they added the chrome last year. They're doing the chrome again this year, which is cool. We don't need chrome everything. I mean, they think Gypsy Queen's cool, but you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know if it's ever found its real place. Like Allen and Ginter has its place, everything else has its place, but it feels like Gypsy Queens might be one of those ones that's like, maybe they don't make again. You know what I mean? Right. It's like kind of teetering on the edge.
Yeah. To me, I don't know, the only exciting part to me, I think, is they extended set those 301 to 320,
Yep.
where it's the veterans.
Yep.
I think that could have been done just a little bit more. They could have done 30 and one per team,
Yeah.
kind of, and had one vet, like the best player from that team of all time, or
Absolutely
the most popular player, like Jeter with the Yankees,
Brett.
Griffey with the Mariners, right?
Sure.
That kind of thing would have made, I think, that little part of it, that chase a little bit better, because that is a big chase. You're getting one of those per box, and I think that is the probably brings the most bang for your buck out of this, even over the autographs.
Sure.
I've never been a fan just because I think the design is funky and it's weird, but I like Allen and Ginter, and I think that I want to ask you guys this. I think you're either you like Allen and Ginter and don't like Gypsy Queen, or you like Gypsy Queen and you don't like Allen and Ginter.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I love Allen and Ginter, and I'm not a fan of Gypsy Queen, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Now, if anybody disagrees with Doug and I, and that's out there, call in and let us know, because we want to talk. I want to talk about it because I think it's very interesting, because I like the little bit of the oddball stuff and the celebrity stuff that they put in.
Sure.
And then Ginter just gives a nice little twist. And like you get like last year they had those horse inserts, and then they had the dog minis. Well, I have a boxer, and a boxer was one of the minis. And so every time like I was opening Allen and Ginter, that's the one mini. That's the only mini I wanted.
Right.
And I think I hit a couple. So yeah. Listen, we have Kevin hopping in. What's up, Kevin?
Howdy.
Welcome to the show. How are you doing today? Because I think it's very interesting.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, can hear you fine.
So I'm getting a lot of feedback, but I'll just ask my question. Hey, long-time listener to About the Cards.
Awesome.
All you guys do a great job. I'm 58, and long story short, I've been collecting since I was 7 years old, back in '68. And even though I have a big collection, I don't sell any of my cards, and I just collect them. So here's my question. I think it's an opportunity lost that, the card companies don't have anything on the back of the cards. I teach elementary school, and I run a class after school for, collecting cards. And I teach a lot to math with all the statistics on the back. And I got to believe that a lot of us growing up were interested in the game and learned so much through all the year-to-year career statistics on the back of cards. And I just don't get it that I was on actually Dr. Beckett's podcast about this, and he thought it was not a cost issue, that the companies could clearly put them on there. But we have one company, one set, Flagship, that brought it back 2 years ago, that they're putting all the career statistics on the back of the cards. Am I off base on this? Am I the only one? That's what I wanted to get your guys' opinion on.
Sure. Especially nowadays when everything is cataloged and sorted, and it's so easy to pull up someone's career stats. I don't see why the companies don't do that either. It kind of irks me. And then, I'm not saying that they have to revert to like 1990 score where it has huge big block text, but I'd like to see a little bit more of a blurb than just 2 sentences on what a guy did the previous year as well.
Yeah, it's funny you bring it up. So I busted a box of 8990 hoops recently on a retro rip. I've had more fun looking through, and the best thing is they have all the career stats on the back, but they have this little blurb that tells how the player ended up on this team. Rather it was a trade or a draft pick, and it tells you who they were traded for. Like, this is Danny Aegis, is acquired from Boston with Brad Lohas for Joe Klein and Ed Pickney, and as the date. I'm a big transactions nerd. Like, I love to know, like, how did that guy get from this team to that team? And this is the coolest set ever for that.
Right.
And I agree with you. I learned a lot of, like, figuring out batting average and understanding statistics and about players, like their history, from the back of the cards. Donruss, what I like about, they have the full name. They have George Howard Brett. Like, it has the full middle and last name. So I agree with you. I feel like that needs to be brought back. I understand that some players, I think Heritage has a good amount of the stats on the back. I believe
it's worded out, but yeah.
But yeah, and I agree. I agree as well. Sometimes I'll pull a player I haven't heard of, especially a newer player, and I'm like, what did they do? And I'd like to see at least what they did for 1 year, maybe last year. I did we actually were invited to Manhattan to do a break with Topps. So we got to walk through their office, and there's a lot of cubicles of guys doing Photoshop. I mean, there's probably 20, 30 guys just Photoshopping cards. And I think, and I'm not making excuses for them, but I think it's maybe mainly a time issue. They're doing so much stuff. They're doing so many sets nowadays. Back in the day, maybe they only focused on 2 or 3 sets and they were able to do that. But I think nowadays they're trying to crank out so many sets to fulfill the MLBPA license, or maybe they just don't necessarily have the time. I mean, you're seeing the same photos being used because I think they're just told, hey, we got to get 40 sets out this year. And, they probably can't focus on that, which sucks because I'd like to know about guys that I don't know about.
Sure.
What if they put a QR on the back that linked to like Baseball Reference? Would that be kind of lame, or would that kind of be a middle ground?
Yeah. I keep getting a lot of feedback. I'm sorry, guys. I'll just jump in, and I appreciate it, and I'll let you guys get back to discussion. But I guess maybe the last question would be, what can we do to get Panini? Topps has done it, but if we can get Panini to give us some year-to-year stats, I actually go back to the old junk wax, like you said, Shep, just to look at the old stats. And it's one thing I've been doing lately with my little Twitter feed. I have like 200 followers, if that. Plus, I put one card on, and I just kind of go over their statistics and what they, let's say, did and what I learned from it. And again, the kids that are coming up today, it's a lost opportunity from the companies. Our future is the kids. And Panini doesn't have any sets in the last 2 years that have year-to-year statistics on the back of the cards. It's a lost opportunity. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Hey, have a good one, Kevin. Thanks for hopping in.
Great call.
No, definitely. I agree. I think that's very interesting, a takeaway. And I do agree because that's how you learn about the sport and about the players. Sure. So, hey, we have the O hopping in. What's up, O? How are we doing today, bud? Welcome back.
Howdy.
Yeah, welcome back. So what do you think about Project 2020, the kind of artsy thing that Topps is doing?
Oh, boy.
I have mixed emotions about it. So I was very excited when I first saw this because I was like, what an interesting concept that you have all these artists from different backgrounds that are going to make cards. Some of the most iconic looking rookie cards of all time. And Brett was on the list. So I was like, okay, 75 Brett, whenever that one drops, I'm picking it up. I didn't understand that all 20 artists were going to do all 20 cards. And then they were going to be $20 a piece. And now it's going to cost you $400 to go out and to acquire that. So it's like, do I just buy the first Brett? Do I have to wait and find the Brett that I want? I think it's a huge missed opportunity. I think if they had done one artist per one card, that would have been a lot better. And then it's a smaller set, it's a 20-card set. You'd have the ability to maybe subscribe and buy into it as a whole, so you can get the whole complete set. And they didn't offer that. So I think it's a big missed opportunity. I love the idea and the concept, but I think the execution at the end of the day with just kind of falters on collectors because it's like there's so many on-demand products now that every couple of days I'm going to have to drop $20 to build this set. And it's not like once a week, like Topps Now or Topps Living. It's like every couple of days at $20 a pop. Right. I don't know. Kind of a missed opportunity, my point.
Yeah, and I get that the artists have to be paid, and some of the artwork that we've seen so far is amazing. But what you're saying, Tim, maybe if they'd have done 10 designs with 2 artists each, that would have been still 20. Hey, but $20 by 20 cards by 20 subjects. It's keep printing, I guess.
I think for me, it's too wild. I saw that Mike Trout, and I actually first, when I saw the tweet from Topps, I said, oh, maybe own a reprint of Mike Trout or something like that, which would be cool, because we know that card's very super, the 2011 update's expensive. So I was like, hey, maybe I could buy a reprint. And then I saw it, and I was like, oh, no, thanks.
Maybe not.
yeah. It was, and I get it, but it's not for me.
Definitely.
Well, I appreciate any other questions you have for us today? How's that been affecting you and your collecting? Have you changed your collecting habits at all?
No, I'm just kind of bummed out that I can't really go to my local card shop, but just kind of a walking distance for me.
Yeah. No, that's been the biggest disappointment. I appreciate we'll see you next week probably, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, I'll have a great one. Thank you. Actually,
You know, and
oh, go ahead. No, he actually sat next to Steph and I when we were at the National at the Tops Q&A thing, and we met him. So it was a great kid there. So I'm sorry, Doug. Go ahead.
No, I was going to mention that some card shops, and not to get off on a tangent, but some card shops are doing like curbside pickup. I would definitely follow them on Twitter. Like I know Mike's Stadium card shop in Colorado actually has a pizza place next door that's been allowed to stay open, and he actually did a stay-at-home package where you can buy a pizza and get a box of Gypsy Queen delivered through the pizza place. So I thought that was a fantastic idea, and I think some card shops are kind of adopting similar policies to get people cards that are local.
Yeah, no, I know mine up the street is, hey, if you call, and you want to pick something up, they'll schedule a time for someone to be there for you. Or they were waiting for their Gypsy Queen delivery the other day. And so someone was at the shop waiting for UPS to drop off their delivery. And then they had, and so they had somebody kind of there. And so I've been able to give them a call and swing by and they kind of tell me what, some of the junk wax stuff they've had that I'm trying to do these breaks or these openings to kind of just give some people some content and hook it up that way. It's just crazy. And I feel like it's like, that is such a community thing, right? Going to the card shop and talking sports cards and hanging out. That's what I miss, because on Wednesdays on my lunch break, that's what I would go do. And
absolutely.
It's been a miss. Definitely.
Well, and you guys, and maybe Shep more so, did you guys see that more people are gravitating towards watching and or buying into breaks and or eBay auctions instead of actually going to the stores, just because the most states anyway have the shelter in place policy?
I mean, I think the data on eBay actually, another good podcast from Bench Clear Media is Breaker Culture. I did a show with them earlier in the week, and they actually had a graph of eBay sales and eBay breaks. And we were talking about it on the show, and they actually, after the pandemic, the sales of group breaks on eBay had went up. So you could definitely see that people are still trying to participate in this hobby, and it's great that you have the internet. We have an ability to do breaks out there.
No, definitely, and I feel bad because you have, like, think about this. I mean, it's the margins on just selling boxes. If that's all that shop is doing, right, and they're not able to do that, I just hope long term it doesn't affect us losing the few number of hobby shops that are actually available.
Yeah.
Because I know that, I'm very lucky in the fact that we have 3 here in Sacramento, but that, I frequent one just more of the others, but I have a feeling one might lose out because I know their business is really just on that new wax. So,
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's been very interesting. So there was a good question back here in the chat from Jeff. Jeffrey was asking, will hockey cards ever even be even remotely close to basketball, football, baseball in terms of prospecting, true value, and demand? Now, this is a great question because Steph is like, he's got his Minnesota Wild snow cap on there. He probably knows a lot more about hockey than I do, and I know that Doug's is a big fan of the Sharks.
Yeah.
So you guys have probably a little more hockey knowledge. What do you see like hockey ever really exploding? Like I think basketball has over the last 5 or 6 years.
I would say that it's had its own explosion, especially in terms of Young Guns and some of the signed on card stuff, SPA and etc. But hockey's kind of the fourth wheel. It's not as popular as basketball. It's not as popular as the national pastime, and it's definitely not football. But it has its niche market between Colorado and Minnesota and Boston and Canada, obviously. But the sport itself has tried to grow its market share between advanced or the Stadium Series, which look amazing, which Minnesota gets their own next year. The outdoor classic games. They're trying to grow the outreach, and it would be amazing to see it actually reach the tier of the products, because of what I've seen, Upper Deck has some amazing products released for hockey. And bar none, nothing against the other companies, they have the best photography.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because Nick's been on our show, but it's just true.
It is, and I agree. They have some of the best designs too. It makes me miss exquisite for basketball. But actually, what Drew said in the chat was about what I was just about to say. Is there's much more dedicated collectors in hockey. We're doing probably 4 to 5 cases of hockey a week, and it's growing every week. And you see less people in the chat worried about what value they're getting back on their hits. You know what I mean? Sure. They're just happy that they're a Canadian collector or they're a Shark collector or Bruin collector. They're just happy to get all their cards. And there's actually a little bit more community within that hockey group of collectors that are in our breaks, where they're kind of more, going for each other rather than like, I skunked, it's terrible. It seems like, and there are some cards. I mean, you look at some of the cup cards, I know that's like a $400 or $500 box, but you look at Connor McDavid's RPAs, those are like 14 to 20 grand. So there is some value in some of the higher end stuff if you're looking to flip. But I think for the most part, people aren't really flipping hockey as much. But, there's usually 2 or 3 young guns a set that are, over $100, like in the terms of Jack Hughes, Capo Caco's inching up there for his young guns.
Sure.
Yeah, Cale Makar. So there's some guys that are kind of chase, if you want to say that. But and I also second the fact that what I said earlier with Upper Deck Designs, it just makes me wish that they were able to make more sports, because they have some beautiful photography and beautiful designs.
Well, and underratedly, their social media outreach. Hey, what are you looking for? What do you have available? And you'll see like guys post, hey, I have 14 of the 15 logo patch cards. I need number 12. And someone will eventually hit them up. Or they'll keep posting it week to week, hoping that eventually someone will find it. And Upper Deck will share it each and every single week.
Their social media game is way above ever. And then they're like their racks, when they do those random acts of kindness are awesome. I mean, I just put something out to them, and they hooked up my friend's her son, and he's 6 years old. They hooked him up with this huge box of goodies, some boxes, some cards, some toys, and some gear. Just because he's a new young kid. He plays hockey. He's in Junior Sharks, and it really got him into collecting. And I opened my first box of Upper Deck hockey. My first box ever with Steph at the National Series 2 last year. It was awesome. I put together the first and second set this year of Upper Deck. Because of how beautiful it was, and it made me really want to start chasing the Young Gun set this year. And I'm working on it because, to me, I love like a good base rookie card, and that's so much more fun for me to collect than say autographs or relics, just because like you can then have like kind of everybody, and you can kind of get a flavor for everyone. And so that's been for me like a big a new add to my collection as I've kind of narrowed down last few years, but I've been able to add that in there. And it's fun because, man, when I was trying to complete the set, hockey collectors are coming out of left and right saying, yeah, what's your address? I have cards, 5, 6, whatever I needed. Give me your address. Let me just send them off to you. Right. And not even trying to make a trade. It was really awesome. So I appreciate that. I agree with Drew. I think these hockey collectors are very much similar to baseball collectors, where it's very hardcore, like team player, like very specific, where basketball and football are more like the stars, the big time, the one hitters, like, hey, I want that Zion and I want Kyler Murray. And if I don't, then I don't care about the rest.
Absolutely. What do you guys think about, have you guys followed that conversation between Blowout and Upper Deck going on Twitter regarding the, so Upper Deck has authorized internet retailers. There's only a few of them that are allowed to sell online, right? And that's DA Cardworld. There's like 2 of them, right? 2 or 3 of them. It's on their website. You guys can find that. And then there's authorized group breakers as well. Well, the shops that are forced to close because of the pandemic are asking if they could sell online because they can't sell it. Sure. So Upper Deck is not giving them a response. So Blowout actually took it into their own hands and is forcing the issue, trying to say, hey, okay, sell. And Upper Deck's not responding. So I've got some point of views, but I don't know if you guys had seen that, and I want to know what you guys thought about that.
No, I hadn't. I think they should be able to and be able to offer that as, I think right now, like in my industries in healthcare, right? So we've had a lot of crazy questions come our way, and some not so crazy. And I think that in this time, this is such a once in a lifetime thing. I mean, like legitimately, you'd have to be 115 years old to remember something like this.
Right.
And not to make a one-time exception, to me, is really crushing your own business, because you got to think like everyone's affected. It's just not you. It's just not your neighbor. It's not your brother. It's it's everyone. Everyone is affected by this. And so it needs to be like we can bend the rules a little bit. I think everybody needs to be a little more flexible in this crazy time that we're in.
Well, and if you cut out one hobby shop, you're only cutting out one. But by cutting out all of these products, you're cutting out one, you're cutting out two, you're cutting out three, you're cutting out four, and eventually they'll just either A, stop selling your product, or B, they'll be out of business.
Yeah.
Region dependent, mind you.
And I think, without thinking about Upper Deck, they're probably worried about when it goes back to normal, allowing everybody to sell and then bringing the margins down on their product, right? Because how do you go back from letting somebody? I think, and I'm, I haven't talked to Upper Deck, haven't heard from Upper Deck. If somebody sells online, if then they are forced to do an action and pull their Upper Deck CDD licenses, which we're all required to have, is a Upper Deck certified diamond dealer license, which we have to abide by their rules. It's the most strict rules in the hobby, but for good reason in a sense. But it's like if somebody sells online and they need to because they're in dire need and they got to pay their bills, if then Upper Deck steps in and punishes them, then I think we have a problem. But I'm thinking maybe they're just being quiet because they don't want the rules to remain that way after the pandemic. That's just my point of view, but I don't know.
And that could be, hey, like, we don't see what's happening.
Right, yeah.
Don't tell us. Yeah. No,
but we're not going to publicly tell everybody to do it. So,
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Talking Books says his 12-year-old son has a question. He wants to know, if my son were to collect college football cards, what would be the best and most affordable card for a kid this age? So I think
is it what Score that does the first release of the year that usually features college?
So right now it's funny because Prism Collegiate Prism football draft picks dropped this week.
Right.
I would say that's probably a good start because you're getting like the Chrome, and you're also getting some autos. So I don't see like the collegiate football taking off like collegiate basketball, maybe just because of Zion. That would be a good one. And then also, you're right there, Steph. Score football is the first real official with the one that they dropped with the draft picks and the vets. And those guys have all the draft picks are in their collegiate uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really good one as well. I think that's very affordable, and you can find Score football
retail. Right.
Yeah, retail everywhere.
Yeah, and I just looked up. It looks like it's $180 retail for the collegiate draft picks, which just came out on Friday. You're getting 5 packs, so you may be able to just buy a pack. You know what I mean? And a pack's guaranteeing you an auto. So there's 5 autographs in the box. You're getting a bunch of parallels as well. There's 8 cards a pack. So, $180, or you could, buy a pack for.
And I believe they also offer that in a blaster version too.
You're right.
Probably without the guaranteed hits. And so that, for $20, that'd be a good start if you want something shiny.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want something that's really affordable, Score football. And if you buy a hobby box of Score football, you're usually able to complete the whole set. Plus, you're going to get a couple of hits in there. You're going to get, inserts and subsets there as well. So,
absolutely.
Great question. Chris Leroy wants to know, do you think the Bowman will be pushed? It was slated to come out early April.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have my guy in there, Bobby Witt Jr., but it's also going to have Jason Dominguez, who's going to make the product be like 7 times what it would normally sell for. With guys not being, with the stay-in-a-home effect kind of everywhere, do you think it's going to? Because it could already be printed. We know it's already printed.
Mm-hmm.
Because we saw cards being autographed, but do you think it's been packaged and ready to go? And what happens with products later in the year?
Well,
now we're going to see great delays throughout the summer.
This would be the interesting release, just because I think that usually this close to release date, it's probably already packed out. It's probably already boxed up, ready to go. If they want to push it just because the season isn't on, or for logistical reasons as far as shipping and distribution, sorry, voice cut out. Distribution, I can understand that. But this will be a very telling release as far as the rest of the calendar season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they usually work on this 6 to 8 months in advance for the most part, and I think it's going to be on time for this release. But I do think there is some worries about releases going forward, that we are going to hit a gap at some point where there isn't, there's going to be some problems because from what I've heard, some athletes are open to signing right now. And I've heard some athletes are absolutely just doing nothing. They're just, they're focusing on their families and stuff like that, which is rightfully so. So I think you're going to be safe with 2020 Bowman coming out on time. Let's just hope Bobby Witt's not Christian Cologne.
Oh yeah, that's true. Or Chesler Cuthbert.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, or Bubba Starling.
Yes, who finally has a rookie card, which is insane.
It only took him a decade to get up.
Yeah.
What's funny? I always wanted a first Bowman auto of Bubba, and I bought one last year for like $10. It was the greatest $10 I ever spent because at one time, like, man, this is an awesome card, like, and I could never get to it. So.
Yeah, funny story. I actually, when I first got back into collecting, we first started doing breaks 2011. I was all about Bowman Draft, and I got a gold Bubba Starling redemption. And I was like, woo! So I got it. They redeemed it. I got it graded 9.5. I sold it for like $900, which was like the biggest sale I had ever had in the hobby. I was like, holy crap. And now I'm sure that card's worth like $40. So
and see, now you can go back and buy it and be like, I have
probably still be able to find that number too.
Yep, exactly, probably.
Yeah. No, and the funny thing is that like people can't maybe get to their LCS because it's closed.
Sure.
But man, we still got to go get groceries. So Target and Walmart's. I mean, you can hit up some retail that way. I can't remember a time since I've been back in 2012 where I go in and the retail shelves are like wiped clean.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. The only thing left seems to be like, for whatever reason, 2018 Score footballs left, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a random football product, like, unparalleled. There might be like one blaster box or something like that. But everything else is just gone. Empty. And then 2019 top sticker that you can find that stuff. Those are the only things left on the shelf, like all the time. And it's like, wow. I mean, do you guys remember when like ever seeing that where, I mean, sometimes with the one product, but with all the products?
No, I mean, my targets here in San Jose have been embarrassing for the last year and a half anyway. I mean, they've actually moved them into my main one. They moved them into the where the vinyl is and the CDs are, and it's just like a little 5-foot shelf. So there's usually nothing there, but it's anytime they do get good stuff, it's completely gone. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you're getting YouTubers that there's a YouTuber that was known for playing NBA 2K, has like 632 subscribers or 632,000 subscribers, and he's like doing cards now. So I mean, you're seeing some of those guys try to find avenues to create content in this pandemic as well. So you've only watched, so like I said, you watch so much Joe Exotic, Netflix, all that stuff, and people are probably walking by the card section now and say, hey, why not try something different?
Yeah, I mean it. Well, I can't speak to it because I haven't left the house in like 3 weeks. But I'm a hermit.
That's because the court said that you had to stay in home. Right?
No, that's away from school.
That isn't self-isolation. That was court ordered.
No, but from what I've seen and what I've heard, the shelves are bare. I've seen a few boxes of like Contenders basketball from last year that nobody bought, but even that is sold out. And it's kind of a really weird time. I personally can't speak to after 9/11, but when we were on base in Okinawa, all the shelves were bare. And I think maybe that's the only really comparable moment, at least in my lifetime, of things being unavailable to pick up. For once, it was actually the first time we had live TV. Usually they do a 2-week tape delay for the Armed Forces Network whatnots, but it's a really weird time.
Yeah, no, it is, and I just. It's crazy. It's just crazy to me to see this. Lon May has a great question here. Would it be amazing if they did a retro combo product? If they did like Bowman Dynasty?
I mean, it might be kind of cool to have an insert in Dynasty, but me personally as a Bowman, that's my bread and butter as a collector is Bowman. I like the 35-point, 55-point stock personally. So if they, like I've even heard with Transcendent Bowman, which is going to come out, they're going to do the gold frame. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like that. I tend to like my Bowman cards, the same they release every year, but that's just my opinion.
Sure.
But the only thing, if they did Bowman Dynasty, you'd have to be in the size of 89 Bowman, so it doesn't fit in like a sleeve. It doesn't fit in any protection, anything we have. So like the top part of the card just gets demolished.
Right.
That's the only way it would be acceptable at all. So there's some really big news going on. So I don't think a lot of people have realized this, but the National is in Atlantic City this year. It's supposed to kick off late in July. But currently, the Atlantic City Convention Center has been turned into what, quote, a field hospital with 250 beds. So now they're turning, during this pandemic, they've turned in, and they're talking about turning the old Sleep Train Arena, Arco Arena, where the Kings played here in Sacramento, into a makeshift hospital because it's an giant empty building. And I understand like this. Do you in the Nationals? 3 months away, actually like 3 months from like today or yesterday that it's supposed to kick off.
Mm-hmm.
To me, or 4 months, I guess, I don't see it happening. I mean, what do you guys think?
I think they're playing it by year, but they're coming up close to that cutoff date. It's just, I don't see people either, in health or spirits wanting to be able to make a travel with all of the packed aisles and everything else to go to a show that's for just a hobby, unless things completely turn around next week, the week after, the third week after that. We're right up against the timeline of them saying, hey, sorry, this year's just canceled.
Yeah, I'm saying it's about 50-50 right now.
Sure.
And for us West Coast guys, it's a hard trip. I mean, we made the trip 2 years ago to Atlantic City, and you got to fly into Philadelphia, you got to rent a car, you got to drive another hour and a half to get to Atlantic City. I mean, it's a far trek. So I could see a lot of people that were possibly thinking about going, that are on this side of America, that are going to be like, we'll just, find something else to do. I mean, everybody wants to go to Vegas around here, which may not be a bad, relocation to like Vegas. I'm sure they're going to be hurting, with them being shut down. They could probably offer better rates and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, with the whole hospital thing going on, which we have one here right down the street from us as well, that just opened up a hospital as well, a pop-up one. Yeah, I just don't see, like you said, maybe if it's, a week from now or 2 weeks at the most, and they'll be able to transition that, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think too. The good majority of the dealers, which is usually who makes the decision as far as what cities they're going to go to, are all along the Eastern Seaboard. So they won't necessarily have an issue getting to the show, but most of them are getting up there in the elderly ages where they're in that core group of people most at risk.
Mm-hmm.
And if they pull out, what's the point of the show?
Yeah.
Well, no, and I think, to be honest, I have a feeling that all of this is going to be in place through June, just because, like, even 2 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago, I was really slow to believe, like, all of what was going on. And then I started actually reading and doing, some research on it. And that's when I told my boss, like, hey, I'm working from home. And then by the end of that week, our company decided, yeah, everybody's going to be working from home.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's been such a delay in everything. We saw spring break and Mardi Gras happening, and now all those people are everywhere. I think we're going to really be through this until June, some part in June, and it's just not going to give them enough turnaround time to get a show, to get a facility cleaned out, ready to go for July.
Yeah.
And, and to me, like, I wasn't planning on going because of it being in Atlantic City. Just being in, like you said, traveling from the West Coast there is ridiculous. When it's in Chicago or Cleveland, okay, that's like, there's you can get direct flights, right, from the West Coast. I really wish, at some point, it would be in a Vegas, or in LA. We're just not going to see that because of all the Midwest and East Coast dealers. That majority rules where there's less on the West Coast.
Sure,
it stinks for us, but it is what it is.
And from what I've heard, Atlantic City, was struggling. They're doing better now, but they pretty much give just a sweetheart deal. I've almost heard that they don't even charge the National. Like, it is a free location where they're making the money on the concessions and all that other stuff, and they're just happy to have the tourism. So that is why the National keeps going back to Atlantic City. That's why it keeps going back to Cleveland and stuff like that. I think if you talk about like an Anaheim Convention Center in LA, I think it just prices them out. They're so used to having that lower budget. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm thinking if you do like a West Coast National, you could have people flying in from other countries. Obviously, with this pandemic, it makes it hard, but flying in from other countries that maybe have more money to buy some high dollar cards. So even though the entry fee might be more expensive for them, I think you might get some higher, bigger spenders out there on the West Coast sometimes.
Certainly.
Yeah. No, it's just, to me, it's the thing I think that most collectors like. It's like our Christmas in July, right? It's like what we look forward to. Like I'd never been. It was always like a really big thing for me to go do, and I was able to squeeze it in like the last moment to be able to go last year, and so it was so much fun, and I got to meet Doug and Dan and everybody, and these guys are a couple hours away from me, right? Absolutely. I finally got to meet Steph, right? Yep. Steph and I've been doing the show together for like a year, and I finally got to hang out with him, and meet all these people I've known for almost a decade and get to see him in person and stuff, and just really bond up those relationships. And a lot of people, it's funny because they'll go and that's the one time a year they see each other, and they build on that relationship from being online and having it real. And so I think that's going to be a big miss of this hobby. Like I said before, it's very communal. It's very in person and sharing all that with everyone. It just makes a lot different than doing it online.
Yeah.
Uncle Rich is on here, and he said the last couple of nationals in Anaheim were both far slower than Chicago shows. So 2000 and 2006. Sure. So
yeah, and I could see that. I mean, a lot of people don't want to, just like I don't want to travel to Atlantic City. I'm sure people that are in the East Coast don't want to travel to California. So, I mean, I could definitely see. And you guys are right. I think collecting is more Midwest based at times than it is West Coast. So, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. James Hummels said the Canadian Sports Card Expo in May, which they always have two. They have a winter, a spring, and a fall one. That was canceled already. They already put that to bed. So that's very unfortunate. It's funny. We have the NFL draft coming up, and that's supposed to take place in like a month, basically. I think it's the 23rd of April. And NFL, so that's still going to go on as planned. And it was going to be Vegas, right? So they were going to have all these fans. I mean, we saw what Philly was like, and where they've had these like live drafts in Chicago. It's been such a big, huge event, which I think is awesome with what they've done. But the Raiders are coming to Vegas, and now they're not probably going to have fans. Are the players even going to be there? Like, is it, what's that going to be like? And I love the draft. I think it's some of the best television out there.
Absolutely.
I love to see where the players go. I like the drama of the trading of picks and what's going on and all that stuff. But I mean, I think they need to have that so they can kind of get the NFL season going. I mean, they kept going on with free agency. Sure. I just think we're gonna miss on an opportunity to see something very awesome happen there because of this. And I get that, but I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, is the draft going to lose a little bit of its luster without having that big experience?
Just based on their schedule, the NHL is kind of uniquely positioned such that their season's already over and they can hold out as long as they can. The draft, though, it certainly will, I think, just because like you were saying, everybody was planning to make travels, and it's not the same watching a guy walk across the stage, meet their new team president, shake their hands, put the cap on, as it is watching some guy on a teleconference on Skype or what have you, stand up and celebrate with family. It's just not the same. There's not that first personal bond with your team's new draft pick as it is when you can actually see them go in person across the stage. Plus, for the fans that are there, unless you're Philadelphia, booing whoever your team picked, you get to see them up close and personal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I think I think they were going to have it at Mandalay Bay, and they were going to have players coming in on a boat. I mean, it was going to be a whole hoopla that they were going to do. But I think without any sports going on, I think it might be the most watched draft of all time because it's just we're yearning. I saw a tweet yesterday that Japan's playing baseball, and everybody, I tuned in for a minute. It's like it was just the need for sports. I mean, I think they're going to do some concert in somebody's living room and like Backstreet Boys and some weird music. They're going to do it on this Sunday. And I'm like, I might tune in because I'm bored. There's nothing to watch. I've never missed sports so much in my life. So I think with the NFL draft, I think it's going to be very watched. I think it's going to be highly social media is going to be all over it, and it's going to give us like, hey, there's something to watch and something to look forward to once football starts.
To that point, you want to pull it up real quick, Tim?
Yeah, this was hilarious.
X of no sports. Watching birds fight over worms. Cardinals lead the Blue Jays 3-1. No, I mean, there's definitely that missing out on sports that people are feeling, and I mean, we have what the Japanese league. Some of the MLB players are getting together and playing 2K sports, as well. I saw some of the hockey guys playing NHL 20. The WNBA draft is going on, and then the NFL draft. I mean, there's really not much going on right now.
No,
we have a hobby icon in here. What's up? It's Uncle Rich.
Hey Howdy. There, how y'all doing?
Doing great. How are you doing today?
Hey there, I'm glad just to be here. It's great to hear y'all. And one of the things about this hobby is, on one level, we're not essential to anything, but on another level, we're incredibly essential to each other. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is the joys that we're all getting from collecting. Those that collect, or those like me that play with. If you can see the background, this is my office, and these are donations for probably the next 10 years worth of our synagogue shows. And I play with these boxes and I put them into 3200s, and it's fun to see what you see. I see cards every day I've never seen before this way. And it's really kind of cool. And for people who like Shep got their Bubba Starling cards, or Stefan, who's probably been able to pick up a few Twins cards he didn't have, or see some Twins cards he didn't have, or the wonderful young man from Mojo Breaks, who's the Bowman guru. You all get to do something fun. Mm-hmm. And I think having fun at this point may be the most important thing of all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I can't say I disagree. And, it almost makes you miss going to a card show just because you have that camaraderie and it gets you out of the house. It's a nice, fun fill of an afternoon. And I'm looking forward to eventually getting back to that and maybe actually going up to the office and not practicing social distancing. Because Lord knows that office, the three of us aren't getting 6 feet of distance between us.
No, we never were. But hey, I can build up a stack of boxes of cards. You just have to move them anytime you want it. Either you want
we need to barricade ourselves. So we need to protect Uncle Rich. He's a valuable asset and valuable person to all of us. So, hold on, we got somebody else hopping in. We're gonna bring in another one. What's up, Eric? Eric Norton.
Howdy.
Eric.
Fatpacks fame. How are we doing?
Godfather himself.
We just
can you hear us?
No, he just muted himself though.
Eric, unmute yourself.
There we go.
There you are.
There we go. There's a little feedback. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. How are we doing, bud?
I'm doing well. Thanks, guys, for letting me join in here. I'm bored on a Saturday.
I'm taking the old school Phillies hat, by the way.
Thank you. That's a little shout out to old Philly.
Nice. I think that's a hat they should bring back. I think we should have a season of baseball where they wear every uniform. Like the team has to wear the uniform from like 1984, and if the team didn't exist, then they wear it from their inaugural season. Because who doesn't want to see the Devil Rays original uniforms?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Who doesn't want to see those brown and orange Padre uniforms?
Powder Blues are making it back for most of the teams anyway. So.
The 70s, so we can get the Astros rainbow uniforms back.
Sunrise, sure.
Yeah, and
the White Sox have to wear and the White Sox have to wear shorts a couple games.
Shorts with the collars popped.
So Eric, what's up, man? How have you been? How's this whole crazy thing been treating you?
Again, I'm bored. I left all my. We're not in the Beckett offices, and I left all my equipment at the office, so I have no shows coming out or anything like that. So I figured I'd jump in and join with you guys if that's okay.
Absolutely,
awesome.
Always have an open invitation with us. Always.
That's great.
No, definitely. So, I mean, what have you been doing? What's life been like for you?
Really with us, there really hasn't been much of a change. We homeschool our oldest son, so that's the same. And our youngest son is not going to preschool. That's the biggest change, and we can't go to church. Other than that, it's really it's the same. I'm still sorting through cards, trying to find something to do with my time, and trying to help with Eli and his homeschooling. Other than that, I'm just digging everything that you guys are doing and all the video content that's being put out that I'm missing right now. I really appreciate you guys doing this.
Oh no, yeah, thank you. It's fun for like this gives I know for me it gives me a giant diversion from really what's going on and allows. And I love the fact that I can do a little something to take someone's mind off for an hour or so a day. I've been trying to do some opening some boxes. I opened 87 tops and I had like a 30-minute video about talking 87 tops the other day. And it was just because that's what my favorite set. I had a box and it's like, why not open it? And so then I got some more boxes and started doing it. And so that's been fun. I just want to put something out there so people can look and go, just watch something and take it off. I'm watching Mojo all the time. I watch Phil's pulls and and so I'm even going back and like watching old Beckett videos of when Chris Olds was doing his old rips and stuff, and like when he would talk about. So it's just been like trying to fill the time with something that it doesn't have to deal with all the real world stuff going on.
Yeah, just a welcome distraction.
Yeah, no, definitely. Hey, I'm gonna bring. Why not? We're on a 6-pack here. We're gonna bring in Shane. What's up, Shane? How we doing, bud?
Howdy. Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, Shane.
Hey, Shane.
What's going on, man?
So, Shane, give us a little background. Like, you do a lot of awesome stuff and provide some awesome content. Like, give us a little background on what you do and like where we can find your stuff so we can enjoy it as well during all this craziness.
Yeah, so I've been doing the Cheap Wax Wednesday breaks with Beckett, and basically they're posted every Wednesday at some point. And I got some feedback, guys. Hold on a minute.
Sure.
Yeah. So he I have a very poor version of what he does, and what Shane's providing. So it's awesome because I really get inspired because he's opening some stuff that like I don't even remember ever seeing opened, and it's great content. So
I have a link I sent to the podcast group, Tim.
Okay.
I can't share on YouTube here, but that's a link to his most recent Cheap Wax Wednesday.
Okay. Let's see here.
How many people can we fit on here at once? That's pretty incredible.
I think it's six.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, no, it's been oh no, Shane had to drop out for the audio link come through, bud. Just can you DM me direct? No, so it's some really great stuff out there. Kevin O'Keefe has a question for everyone. Do Topps or Panini ever make public the sales of each product they release? I'd love to know how Gypsy Queen sells versus Allen and Ginter Stadium Club, etc.
I think the closest I've heard from Topps, at least Topps, was that earlier when they were talking, they were trying to quell that this is Junk Wax 2.0, where they stated that Series 1 was only a quarter of produced to what was produced during the Junk Wax days. But that's the closest I've seen as far as production numbers.
Yeah, Panini will go ahead and announce sellouts now. They don't say how much was sold out, but most of the time that means it's sold out from them, and distributors have it, we have it, shops have it, but they no longer have it. And that's about the closest thing I've seen is them announcing, hey, encased football is now sold out. Thanks, guys, or whatever. So that's about it.
We bring another guy in here. Chris Harris. What's up, Chris? How are we doing today?
Howdy.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Still gum in the house.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what brings you to join us today, bud?
Anybody? Internets?
Yeah.
No, don't hear any audio.
I don't have any audio there.
And that's on an unrelated note. That's one of the things that most of the content producers are trying to say is that if you're just watching a stream of audio or whatnot, to crank down all of your the bit rates or the quality per se, to dump it down lower just because you're only getting audio. And I know that Netflix and Amazon and all the others are crunched trying to find bandwidth for everybody. And maybe that's just an issue with StreamYard at the moment or YouTube, but
no, yeah, I also heard like some like CenturyLink was maxed out if you have that internet connection, and Verizon was getting hammered pretty hard with everybody being at home and streaming stuff. That's how we're consuming content now that they're really struggling. So maybe this will have a good thing where it'll affect them to make their systems better,
push for better ends. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so maybe something great will something will happen outstanding from this. So I also too like a big thing that I've seen a lot is that we've had a lot of folks come through and say like, hey, like I've been temporarily suspended from work, right, and taken off. Now, do you think that this will have a long-term effect on people that have just hopped into the hobby? Because we've seen such a growth in the hobby that the people that were, so we're used to spending like, say, $110, $115 a box for a jumbo box of Topps flagship, right? That's the most it really ever is, unless it's like update. But I've seen like Topps Series 1 2020 for like $190 for a jumbo box, which is crazy to me because all these people are coming in and buying up this product. But my question is that do you think that this will, this pandemic is going to take out some of those new people that hopped in, where they're paying $190 and they're not understanding that it's supposed to be like really about $110, and that these prices, as those people leave, the prices will kind of level back out to what they were?
So I guess maybe a good parallel and one for Rich to tap on would be the player strike. Howdy, Chris.
Well, hey Chris, we've had really two player strikes that have affected the sport: 81 and 94.
Sure.
81, they got the season completed. And then, a matter of fact, the hobbies, it was sort of just like a blip on the way. The economy was having enough issues in 81 where we survived the 50 days without baseball because it was during the summer.
Right.
And we survived. We got the World Series done. Kirk Gibson actually got hot in the second half of the year. So we still had people chasing on the young guys, Raines, Valenzuela, and by the end of the year, Kirk Gibson and a couple other guys. And then we had all the errors and variations in Fleer and Donruss. Even though they had cooled off by that point, they were still being chased.
Sure.
94 had a much more virulent effect on the hobby. I wrote about this in my latest GTS column. I actually left for a show trip the day the baseball strike began. And there was no interest in upstate New York in baseball. The guy had all the hot cards, and nobody asked him the entire weekend about them. And it was kind of sad to hear. Nobody was even looking at Griffey or Maddox or any of these guys that had pretty much shown that they were great, not just one-year wonders. We got a break this time. I mean, and there's nothing good about a pandemic, but the owners and the players didn't cause it. I was teasing a couple weeks ago about will there be no Rudy Gobert collectors, but the fact that he became one of the first public figures to have it really alerted a lot of people. This is serious. If a young guy in his 20s who's in incredible athletic shape can get it, we all can get it.
Yeah.
And so that I think has actually helped us in that athletes are now one of us again.
And apparently,
good point.
An update on Gobert. Apparently, he's been cleared.
I see that Carl Anthony Towes, his mom was in a coma. I think I read about a 22-year-old football player from the state of Washington. It was a minor school, and I think he passed from COVID, I think he passed 2 days ago. So we appreciate our athletes as much now, and so we may lose some people just by the virtue that we're going to lose people, but we're not going to lose them based on a lack of interest in sports.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're all just meat bags with lungs, hearts, and whatnot, and I think this is really showing that we're all just the same. I mean, if someone who's a millionaire, billionaire, or like Tom Hanks, for example, can catch this, so can you.
So, Chris, what made you want to drop in today, bud?
Well, first of all, can you hear me?
Yes,
yes.
Because I'm going on my phone now,
Okay.
and not my laptop. Like I said, I'm just bored. I've been stuck in this house for like 2.5 weeks now.
Yep.
Haven't been able to do anything. And normally on a Saturday morning, I'd be on my way to a card show right now.
Mm.
And I haven't been into a card show in a couple of weeks, so kind of jonesing for some hobby content, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Going through withdrawals from hitting the slot buckets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all are at this time. No, it's just very weird. I don't know any way else to say it. I think we're all just kind of playing it day by day and trying to do the best that we can. We had a really good question, I think, for all of us on here from Kevin. What baseball set other than Flagship do each of you enjoy the most? Now, some might not enjoy Flagship. I'm a big Flagship nerd, but what other sets what's one of your top couple sets that come out every year in baseball that you always look forward to?
So do you just want to go clockwise, I guess?
Steph, what's yours?
So I'll do Topps and Panini. Panini, obviously, Diamond Kings. I got supremely lucky in 2015. But it's a great product because you never know if you're going to get like a Noah Syndergaard auto, or you might end up with a relic of some guy from the 30s that you've never heard of, and you get to learn about the sport. I just love that aspect. Some people don't like the no logos. Some people do. I get it. For me, it's not an issue. And then for Topps, maybe I guess Ginter kind of really got me into the hobby. I just love seeing their release of here's our non-sport schedule for the year and who's on it.
Yeah.
So what do you look forward to?
For Panini, I'd say Elite Extra Edition. Now it's changed over a couple years. I mean, I'm a prospect guy, so I like to be able to, Panini always has some of the newer names that you don't even see in Topps for a while. So, and then with Elite Extra Edition, the last couple of years, you got 10 hits in a box. So it's really good value overall, right? So, and you're getting, you got a chance like Jason Dominguez and stuff like that. And you also have guys that you can look up and say, wait, where they're playing. And I'm, when baseball starts up again, I'm right next to the San Jose Giants. So I can start kind of looking at the schedule and see if that guy that I have a card of is going to be in town. I can kind of go watch him. Now for Topps, I'd say Bowman's Best. I mean, Bowman obviously is near and dear to my heart, but Bowman's Best a little bit more on an affordable level. On card autos, always has some interesting designs. So those would be the two for me.
Uncle Rich?
I'm a heritage person. I mean, and Stefan's nodding. He knows that the heritage is like the one that I have to get the box of every year.
Now you're just saying that because you got the Vladimir Guerrero auto, right, Rich?
What?
You said you're just saying that because you got the Vladimir Guerrero auto this year.
Yeah, Shep knows. I mean, Shep was talking about Flagship and the prices.
Sure.
I think it was 2017 and 2018 where the heritage boxes exploded on site.
Mm-hmm.
They went from basically at triple card 74 to 140 in 2 weeks or a week. Oh, let me buy it the next time I come in. Okay, they'll have plenty. Well, the next time I want to go in, it's 140. Well, oops.
Yeah.
And thankfully, and I'll give a shout out, Mike Fruitman in Colorado read that in one of my columns and make sure I get a box every year at cost plus shipping, just so because he knows how important that one is to me.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it's fun because, now we're in the years that I actually grew up opening the packs when they were actually first issued. I opened 71 rack packs. I opened 71 wax packs. So for me to see the 71 design in modern terms, what they've been able to do with all these sets, especially, the 58 set, that's 13 years ago for Heritage. What they did to make it far more appealing 13 years ago than compared to 1958 to me is amazing. I love the 59, Heritage set. And I hated 59 collecting it. So I'm a heritage guy. And I enjoy all cards. but Heritage is the one that always brings me back to my youth because I collected all those cards too.
Absolutely.
And they look the quality is better this year than 71.
Eric, what's your set? What's your go-to set?
So if I could piggyback off of Uncle Rich there, I like Heritage Miners because I love all the crazy names that you don't get to see, team names. I'm not my knowledge on MILB baseball is not the greatest, so it's almost like a teaching tool, getting to see the catfish and the hot rod, the lug nuts and things like that. Those are fun team names, and then consequently looking up the team history, if I'm interested enough of checking that out, like the Tacoma Rainiers, they've been a feeder organization for the Yankees and for the Twins and for the Mariners. So it's cool to check that kind of stuff out. And then on the Panini side, I'm going to cheat and say Donruss. Donruss is just it's just as big as Flagship, Topps Flagship, but all the little variations and everything in there are fun to chase
and affordable.
No, definitely. Chris, what are you going after?
So we've met the one guy that actually collects Heritage Miners. Sorry, Eric.
That's okay.
What do I look forward to? You're asking me this?
Yeah.
Tops?
Yeah.
Well, if you were to ask me this maybe like 5 or 10 years ago, I would have said Flagship and Heritage, but now that those have been basically gimmicked to oblivion and have become uncollectible, I'd say Bowman's best. I mean, that's really the best product, no pun intended, the Topps makes year in and year out.
And it's cousin set, Topps Finest.
Yeah,
outside as a
too.
label, I really can't tell the difference between the two.
Yeah, no, I Finance is always very. I think when you look at the cards, I mean, I remember when it first dropped. I mean, it was one of the cards I could never touch as a kid, and super sexy designs, and always just very shiny. I'm a big Flagship nerd, so besides that, though, one set I love that I look forward to every year is Allen and Ginter. The last few years, it just I just it's odd. You have weird things that pop in there. The one thing that really got me into it is when a couple years ago Matthew Berry had from ESPN Fantasy had autographs and like a tie relic in there, and so that really got me into collecting Allen and Ginter. And then I've gone back a few years before that, and since then collecting it. It's pretty awesome, and I mean it's not for everybody, and I get that, and it's fine. But I mean I pulled a Penny Marshall autograph one year, and
super cool.
I mean it that was awesome, but it paid for a couple of boxes after when I sold it. So there's just neat stuff that comes out that you don't expect. Group break checklist. We have a few minutes here left today, but hops in and has a question. Has anyone heard that AJ Brown for the Titans will not sign any more autographs for Panini? Some of his NT autos are live and some are redemptions. I have not heard any of that, but I don't want to know if you guys have it all.
Well, I know he wasn't in Optic Contenders at all, which was a blow to anybody that bought the Titans in that product. He just was completely absent, so not even a redemption. I think what happens, being around some of the rookie premieres and breaking with some of the athletes, which I was fortunate to do. Thanks, Panini, by the way. A lot of times these guys are signing these contracts prior to the draft, so they're getting pennies on the dollar because a lot of times they need it, and that's the going rate is the pennies on the dollar or whatever for their autographs. Well, AJ Brown has a good year, so he's like, hey, I know you signed me for X amount of dollars, but I'm worth X amount of dollars now. So Panini has to make the decision: is he worth X amount of dollars to keep including him, or is it a situation where they could just not have him anymore? So they had that situation with Julio Jones. If you remember in 2011, his cards were live in the beginning, and then later on, redemptions were getting filled, and I think it took 3 or 4 years before his agent, I think, caved on the contract and fulfilled the contract because these guys do sign these contracts at this amount, so it's they're binded to it. It's just they start seeing money coming from other sources, like Fanatics will pay a guy a $200 an autograph. Well, that's feasible for memorabilia, but that's not feasible for sports cards.
And I think every case is different. From what I understand, Panini now actually has a catch-up section too for some of the sports at the end of the season. And sometimes if they really want the player, they'll renegotiate and say,
yes,
hey,
yes,
you're worth it. We'll pay you your new market rate. I mean, I guarantee you Dak Prescott cost a lot more on the catch-up session than he did on the first contract. And I bet you Panini would say, okay, we're fine with that. You had a great rookie year. You're good to go.
Right.
No, just very interesting. And the Julio Jones thing was crazy. And then people got those redemptions years and years later, and they were like, "Oh, okay, awesome."
Right.
And then it took off. And so, I get it. Sometimes these guys, I think, like you said, they take the money because that's what they can get at the time. So,
and I think the same thing with Khalil Mack. And another interesting guy is Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett got drafted, and he wanted first overall quarterback money for his autographs. If you notice, he's not on Leaf. He's not on Panini. He's not on anything. So nobody wants to pay Myles Garrett, a defensive guy. A lot of times defensive guys just aren't going to give you the value in the product, right? I mean, there's obviously, Khalil Mack's a great guy. He's awesome. Bosa's been playing good the last year with Defensive Rookie of the Year. But the defensive guys a lot of times aren't worth it for these companies to sign, especially if they want that much money.
Okay, and also to defend the card companies here, remember where they are on the tree. They're pretty low on the tree. They're pretty low on the tree.
Yeah.
And so they have to sometimes accept some of this as the precondition for being able to keep getting players to sign with them. Sure. And so, even if you have the occasional player that flakes off for whatever reason or says no, or doesn't sign even with the contract, they sometimes have to accept that to say, okay, the next guy who signs with you will accept because we still want the new player's autograph. So the card companies are in a very tough position. They're not high up on the food chain as we like to think they are. For us, they're up way high.
Right.
But in terms of the sports, they're not so high.
Yeah, and then the thing is this doesn't happen very often that you see this with players where and so they try to make it right, I think, the best way that they can. And, my thing is, I think most of them would like not to have to provide redemptions on products. But sometimes that's just the nature of the beast of having on-card autos and guarantee that stuff. Because if you tell me you wanted to open National Treasures and get a sticker auto, you're going to be very disappointed.
Sure.
It's not like if you're opening, Score and you get a sticker auto. But if you're opening National Treasures, you're expecting that to be an on-card auto. And so just that quality of product. So, it's it's some give and take. And I think sometimes we have to be understandable of that. And then sometimes we have to hold them accountable for certain things. And they're at the mercy of the player and their agent. And that's just what it is. So hopefully that'll get figured out if that's true. And AJ signs the cards because he's a phenomenal player. I think he's going to be one of the bright spots on the Titans. And, the Titans fans and collectors are going to want his cards. But as we know, he's not a quarterback.
Right.
And as long as I believe, as long as Panini has the quarterbacks, they're not going to care.
Yeah.
They have the veterans, the star veterans, the star retired Hall of Fame players, and they have the new crop of quarterbacks. That's really the meat of what they need. These other guys are the potatoes and the vegetables, and they're like, well,
good point.
As long as you eat your meat, you're all right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just think
that's the way some vegetables, though.
Yeah.
Well, always have.
Got to have some wide receivers and maybe a left tackle every once in a while.
I'm good with the left tackle. That's what I play. Right? I'm always good.
Right.
I'm always good with the left tackle. Guys, any final thoughts before we head out?
Can I just answer Kevin's question? Yes, I am aware of the monthly show. It's run by my old friend Joe Drellick, who's been in the hobby for almost 40 years now. I knew him before I even moved to Texas in 1990. So I hope someday to be able to go to the Parsippany PAL just like the old Mike Gordon shows.
Nice. Will you set up a booth and sign autographs for all of your fans, correct?
Even all two of them, yes.
Well, guys, any other final thoughts before we head out and enjoy the rest of our Saturday? I get to go clean gutters, so
nice.
I get to play with cards in my office for another hour or two, and I want to thank you all for letting me guest on your show.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go. I gotta go.
Always.
I gotta go ship packages behind me, so that'll be fun for my day.
Yeah, all three of Uncle Rich, Eric, and Chris always have open invitations to hop in and join the show.
Definitely.
All right.
So, yeah, I appreciate all of you guys.
Thank you.
Remember, we're live every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook. 10 Central. Make sure to subscribe and review our show on all platforms. We really appreciate that. We appreciate all of you. Thanks for hanging out with us. You follow us on Twitter at Hobby Hotline. Guys, give your shout out. So, Chris, where can we follow you and all of your awesome wisdom?
Twitter at Stalegum, STALEGUM.
Eric, where can we follow you and get all your goodness?
Twitter at Fat Packs Podcast. Guys, be kind out there this week. That's important. Be kind.
Yes, and also too, great podcast. If he's not gonna have any shows out currently, but go back and listen. I was on, so that's the one show you want to go listen to. That was the best. He said it was the best episode ever, I think, and so check that out. Uncle Rich, where can we follow you, bud?
On Twitter, Uncle Rich Klein, and through my columns at GTS. It's called Klein's Corner.
Nice.
Outstanding. Always follow Doug at Fresh Cardboard or Mojo Break. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go and hop into a break. Make Doug open up packs for you, ship them out for you.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, it's like 2010 all again. You just need to be in the kitchen.
I do.
With your. You need to bring back the old
science board.
Yes.
Yes.
The science board. By the way, if you guys want to have some fun, go to Mojo Break's YouTube page and go to oldest videos.
Oh, yeah.
Doug did some amazing ads and previews for stuff that they were going to do. Before I even started watching, I went back and I was crying.
Do you like the randomizer in the shoebox where the cards all fall out? Yeah, it was great.
And then you did one where you're selling breaks and you were in a bathroom doing a video or something yeah, some outstanding content. So do that. Again, I think they're my go-to breaker, the best in the business, and he does not pay me to say that. No, trust me, they're awesome. You can always follow Steph at Junk Wax Twins. Follow me at Big Shep 79. And there we go. That's 10 times more than I need. So I appreciate all of you guys, and we'll see you next Saturday. And don't forget to check out all of our podcasts and all of us on Twitter and hang out with us.
Definitely.
We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Stay healthy. Keep collecting.
There we go.